set underway for England after it got worse and worse.
Eventually, though.
But what I don't see is,
McNamara for me is a decent coach. He's a decent coach in terms of on the training paddock, getting people to do things, teaching people plays. What he is not is a motivator and a leader of men. He's a great Robin is a fucking woeful Batman.
Yeah,
for me, and that's the long and short of it. And nothing against the guy and what he achieved as a player, but in terms of coaching, his strengths lie in being on the field and being an assistant coach or working with people more directly, not first team coach.
You jumped in to start this one because I was so distracted by trying to check up something on the game. And what I meant to say was the fireworks certainly weren't on the pitch in this one because they had a big firework display before kick-off.
There you go.
Which probably 50% of the crowd, or maybe more, couldn't see.
I wonder if the crowd had a bit of a hangover as well. I suspect they will have done.
To be honest, Hull KR weren't good at all in this game.
No one was good.
They were apart from a couple of players, they weren't good in this game. And then they lost a few players through injury. I'm not sure even how much some of the players wanted to necessarily be involved.
Yeah.
There were, a couple of players really wanted to be involved. Some of them not so much. I felt not knocking them because I just feel like that's kind of that's what this week is. We've all been on big dues for a couple of days, and then the rest of the week's quite a lethargic affair, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, absolutely. And KR have every right to one of them, I think.
Catalan started the game. It looked quite promising because they scored the try really early on. And they were making decent ground, and they were looking like they had the ability to threaten, but it just got so slow once it got out wide because Thornley and Duport, your wingers, that's the slowest wing combination around.
Of course it is.
And it just meant that everything had to be perfectly precise, and when it's a team that's playing poorly, everything isn't going to be perfectly precise, is it?
No.
They were good enough in the end, though. They did, you got to credit them for some resilience for how that came back. Then they got a scratch of luck with, the penalty that Chris Atkin elected to kick at goal being from quite a bit of a distance and a bit of an angle. It was very similar to where London would have had the penalty from against Warrington to have possibly tied the game if that penalty had been awarded. Just putting that in people's minds as a thing. And then, they missed a drop goal, but I think that was Catalan mustering just as much energy as they possibly had to kind of put the kicker off there. But they did, Luke Walsh, you've got to credit him for those goal kicks as well. You've got to credit them for the execution on those last couple of plays. It was, when Braden Williami went over, though, it did feel so much more about relief than joy. And
definitely.
And it's just a mindset thing. When what's his face? Is it Christophe Jouffre, the chief exec? When he was interviewed after the game, he was good value actually in his interview, and I think he made things seem a lot more positive because you didn't buy into McNamara's we just needed to win and all that, and you certainly didn't think there was any positivity coming from the chairman up in the stands. He was miserable as anything, which was what the team put on the field. But I don't know, they showed a level of grit against a much more, even though it's a second string team almost, a much more confident and what's the word I'm looking for? The pressure was off them.
Yeah, kind of buoyant now. They don't have
do what they wanted.
The shackles are off,
and players did try and do that for a bit. I mean, the try they scored, was it the Will Oakes try with the offload that was probably forward, but what have you? That around that time they were just offloading for fun, and they still had a bit of energy at that time. The energy had gone by the end, and Catalans did what they needed to do. I don't want to take too much away from them for doing that. They were terrible, but they still were able to do that. I think that shows some sort of character that I didn't know necessarily if it was still there in this side.
So they face off against.
That's a thing that's a question that makes the game next week more in doubt than it would have been.
Well, they play Widnes next week, don't they? And that is basically like the £1 million game semi-final. It's like the £500,000 game, isn't it?
Like Hull KR had against Huddersfield last year.
Yes, exactly. So we'll see how things go. Individually, who start for us then for these two?
Ian Thornley, despite all the boos that came his way, grabbed a try, 137 metres and 2 clean breaks. Lewis Tierney, 147 metres, returning a lot of kicks. Paul Ayton, 52 tackles, 11 marker tackles. Outstanding effort, given that he seemed to have broken his sternum or something halfway through the second half.
That's true. Very true. So for KR, who stood out?
Well, George Lawler was man of the match, and he did his usual kind of start in one position, then end up being a completely different player and putting in a big shift. 1 try and 140 metres. Will Oates, a try, 8 tackle busts, 117 metres, 2 clean breaks, showed he can be a handful. And Ben Kane on his farewell appearance at the Craven Park, 1 try and 116 metres.
There you go. So at the same time, Halifax were getting beaten 40 points to 6 by Lee Centurions in front of 4,315 down at the Lee Sports Village. It was refereed by Chris Kendallmark. Standout performances in this one. There was hatfuls and hatfuls of tries for Lee Centurions, but the Mitch Brown hat-trick stands out in my mind. And James Clare continues his try-scoring return to Rugby League as well, with another 2 for him on the wing.
Yeah, and it also seemed like a couple of players who you don't expect to get much from. People like Anthony Maria were involved in some attacking contributions as well as just carting the ball up for 6.5 metres and then playing it slowly and then making a few tackles, then getting subbed off. So that was good. Also, Reynolds was back in the side, wasn't he? And you know how much I've liked what he's been able to put forward, attacking in particular, in this game. So I think he grabbed a score? He did the goal kicking, not his best goal kicking night by the looks of things, but he grabbed the second try of the game. So yeah, but all I've seen is the highlights. It looked like there was a few long range kind of things as well. Look, Halifax's season wasn't hinging on this game, was it?
No, that's it. It was all done really, wasn't it? Individually then, stats-wise?
Well, you've mentioned a lot of them. Mitch Brown with 3 tries, 141 metres, 3 clean breaks and 4 successful offloads. James Clare with 2 tries, 101 metres. Greg McNally with a try assist and 102 metres.
And for the Blue Sox?
Well, a player they're going to miss next year, Mitch Callahane, 1 try and 48 tackles, so he worked really hard there. And Rob Warranty, 166 metres, 2 clean breaks.
There you go. Okay, so on Saturday afternoon, Widnes Vikings 38, London 16 in front of 4,199. Refereed by James Childmark. We've got plenty of feedback on this.
Well, we'll start with Paul. Paul Campbell says, gutted to say the least. Lad's worst game and bets the arrogant prig gets away with it. London, for all their effort, were just not good enough again. Proud of the team's performance against the Super League sides, just not good enough in the end. Only thing I'd say on the game is we made too many errors and the sin-bins were harsh. Plenty of tackles led with the shoulder, and how was Cunningham's a high tackle? Child not consistent with decisions, but he did not cost us. Did not help us, but I did not expect anything else where he is concerned.
There you go. Paul O'Brien, 1976, says, a much-needed win for the Vikings. Still need to stop giving away stupid penalties, though. Scored some good tries. Watching a game that is on TV with no screen is a joke when they go to the video referee. 56 minutes for a half of rugby league is ridiculous. Onwards to Catalans for the most important game of the season so far.
You know, Wigan's game with no video referee, even without a screen or with a screen or any sort of form of that, went on for 50 minutes in the first half.
Really?
Yeah.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Anyway, Sarah said, I thought Dennis Betts had delivered the London team talk for them, but sadly it was clearly a prophecy he had delivered. I was late switching the match on, and the first action I saw was James Charles sin-binning a London player. It seems some things never change. I wonder what he is like at home. Does he carry his cards with him in case his dog misbehaves?
Such bitterness. Okay, Ian Gatwood says, just weren't at the races today and just didn't deserve anything from the game, and another campaign of what could have been. Yes, some luck never went our way, but we shot ourselves in the foot with our own performances by not taking chances and not performing for 80 minutes. Betts was very disrespectful for his pre-match comments, but that's in the past now. Next season will be crucial for keeping Hendo at the club, without a doubt.
Brian Davies said, London were poor, lots of silly penalties and poor options. Shame their season ended on such a low note, as they are a much better side than they showed. The result didn't really matter to Widnes, as the winner in France stays up and the loser goes to the £1 million game, whether they won or lost. Widnes did look the better side and will probably have enough confidence now to finish off the job next week.
And Paul Lewis says, here's hoping Betts announces that no Catalan player would get into the Widnes team. Well, yeah.
Do you know what? Betts' comments, whilst potentially disrespectful,
are not far from true.
Well, more to the point, they were aimed more at his own players than at the London side.
Yeah.
I think he knew in saying them that it does the London team talk for them, but I think he also knew he's got a Super League side there who need to play up to that. And I don't think they really were playing up to that until that ridiculous try on the half time.
Right.
One of the most remarkable passages of play you're likely to see. About 3 or 4 times someone should have been tackled or could have knocked on or what have you, but none of it actually did come off that way, and it all was legit, remarkably. And it's a little bit of a shame that tries like that do need to be poured over by the video referee, and it's probably contributed a lot to the length of that first half. But it did need to be poured over by the referee because it felt crucial, because that would have extended it out from a 2-score lead to a 3-score lead going into half time. And it meant that London's shitness in this game
we mitigated
would come back to burn them rather than them getting away with it and coming back in the second half like they've so close to done so many times before. And they couldn't get so close to it this time because they just weren't good enough. But that try was remarkable. One side of the pitch to the other, everyone keeping it alive, almost everyone involved. The kind of exciting tries you want to see at this stage of the season, be decisive in games like this. And then in the second half, well, sort of back end of the first half a little bit as well, but mostly in the second half, I think Mellor and Craven were very, very controlled. They knew the place, the lines to run, the places to hit the ball up, to where to put people. Lloyd White going off injured was a problem, and it's going to be a problem next week, I think, because young Walker's good, but I don't know about 80 minutes, and I don't know about whether he's going to get wound up a bit by some of them Catalan forwards.
You never know.
We know he can hold his own, but whether he can hold his temper is a different matter. The sin binnings were talked about. The first one, I think, was fully justified. It was a very, very late tackle on a what in the NFL they term a defenceless player.
Right.
But yeah, like a very, very late tackle. It wasn't high, but it wasn't a tackle. In fact, it was a charge on a player. There'd been one earlier that Widnes were penalised for, but that was not even in the same sort of rhythm of the lateness of it. Both the other sin binnings, one for each team, was more for repeated team offences. I can't remember having any objection to the Cunningham high tackle, to be honest, but the point at that stage was that London just kept giving away penalties after penalties after penalties. They were on a team warning for a reason, and whether this one was slightly, harsh or not, I don't remember it as well as Paul would have done when he wrote his review. That to me isn't significant, because someone else in that London side would have committed a penalty within the next minute or so that would have seen them sent to the sin bin in any case, to be completely honest. Still a really good try from Kieran Dixon, nearly dislocating his shoulder and looked very painful. Whilst they were a man down as well, he scored that try. So, credit there for some of that. But these London players, a lot of them did show what they are, which is really good championship players. There's still, Ione, get him a Super League deal.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't want him to leave London. I want London to be strong, but I think he'd go in Super League fine. Bartow lost his cool a bit in this game, shows what the sort of temperature is out there and what the significance of things are, and he probably didn't have his best game that I've seen him play this year, but
it shows some commitment and it shows some pride in the jersey, doesn't it? Absolute
quality player as well. So there's things to be positive about for London. This was this ends their season, but it's better to end the season now and then have a home game where you can celebrate the season than have the misery next week of losing to Lee and it ending your season on home turf and not being able to celebrate. I feel like now it might open them up for a celebration next week. That's what I hope.
And listen, looking ahead for London, right? 2018 is a season of real opportunity for them, depending on what happens in the £1 million game, because if Catalan get relegated, they are in real trouble, and they will lose a raft of players and may not be as strong as you would anticipate them being going into a championship campaign. Combined with the fact that Toronto, yes, they're recruiting well, are coming up, but they will